Welcome, card readers, mystics, seekers, and all you witches out there. April here on Tarot and Witchery, and this is my June retrospect, my June favorites, my books that I was reading, the decks that I've used, and my life here on the farm. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, and thanks to everybody that is returning. If you haven't seen one of these, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to translate my life into tarot. And this month, oh my gosh, June, wow. I'm late recording because I was at a festival the first part of the month. But holy moly, June was a real month. There was so much packed into it for me. It was very poignant. And I will get into that. But before I do, I just want to say, hey, there are free PDF printables down below. So if you're interested in some different spreads or different ideas for working with tarot, check those out. They're in the description box. I'm going to put some timestamps down below for you. Not a lot because it's July and I just seem to have limited energy for certain things in my life right now. And it's probably because I'm processing a lot of what happened in June. But I do want to say this, I am going to be doing some lives here coming up, hopefully at the end of July, maybe early August. I'm on Tarot Stash's channel and I'm on Peekaboo Rose's channel as well. So those are both in August. But I have a new tarot sort of game show, I suppose, that I want to have folks on. And at the very end of this video, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to ask those of you who are willing to stick around for some name ideas for this one. Okay, so let's jump into it. June, oh my God, I just want to like pull my hair out thinking about it at times because it was so intense. It was so tumultuous for me. There was so much going on. It was gorgeous here on the farm, and I'm going to just inundate you with the farm pictures. I'd love to be outside right now, but my neighbors are plowing their front field and really loud outside. I'm going to show you all sorts of farm pictures and talk to you about all the fun things that happened. There was so much beauty in this month, but again, it came from a very intense place. And I think I can best describe it to you by laying out the hand that was dealt to me and then kind of delving into that. You may remember that this year is my year of the death card. So let's just put that over here so we keep in mind that that is a huge part of what's going on. So the theme for my month was the Devil card, and that was rooted down by the Six of Cups reversed and flanked on both sides with the Two of Pentacles reversed and the Two of Swords reversed. On top, the fruits of all of this tree right here, because here we have the roots, we have the trunk of the tree, this is the stability. And what we have up top blooming as a result is the Nine of Cups reversed, the Five of Pentacles upright, the Three of Swords upright. It's always good to know what your helper cards are for the month. And my helper cards started out with the Fool. Always good to have the Fool. And that was really put me into a place of the Wheel. And then finally, the biggest breakthrough I had was the Eight of Cups as a result of being able to use all of this and work through all of this. Oh my God, let's talk about it. The beginning of the month was rather frenzied. I had some family come up and visit, my aunt and my uncle, and I had my stepdad and stepmom over. And wow, everybody's getting really old. And whenever you see that the people in your life that were very formative are getting really old, it makes you think about how old you are. So at the beginning of the month, I had two, not four, but two of my children graduate. And this was so big for me. Here's my bonus child right here when she was little. Graduating from high school. And so this is our youngest. And so that's it. It's over. That's it. There's no more babies here. And then on top of it, I had my daughter was living with me. She lives upstairs from my spirit room here in our apartment. And she graduated from dental hygiene school. Here she is as a little baby. She's our middle youngest, because we have 5. So our middle youngest, and my birth child. So she graduated from dental hygiene school, and then I was preparing to move her away. And so it's like, it was a death for me. It really was a death for me to realize that those days are over, that there aren't any little children anymore, that they're not, I mean, if you have kids, if you have adult children, then you know that it's never over. It broke my heart open. It really broke my heart open in a way that I was not expecting. And I don't even know what empty nest syndrome is going to feel like when this really settles in. But it was a lot. Like, I'm getting teary-eyed just talking about it here. And all of this was compounded by the fact that I had really been looking for some solutions for myself with all my perimenopausal symptoms. At the end of May, I knew that I needed to do something. I'd really been working on my hot flashes. Thank you, all of you, for all of the wonderful advice and things that you shared with me. Some of you emailed me really detailed things. Thank you so much for all of the wisdom that you shared already walking this path before me. I knew that I needed to do something, and so I really checked in with myself. And this is where that devil card comes in. I knew that I needed to get really in touch with my body and really up close and personal with it. I needed to balance my hormones, and I needed to do so in a radical way. And I'm just kind of like that. Like, when I go to do something, I do it. It's like a Band-Aid, rip it off. Let's do this. Let's gut it up. Let's make it happen. That's just the type of person I am. I just like to commit to things. I really like to dive in and do it. And so I did. I decided that one of the biggest things that was holding me back was my love of sugar, refined sugar. I love cake. Oh my gosh, I love cake so much. But I just realized that I needed to get my body in a place that was clean and clear. And so I decided that I would quit sugar. Now, some of you may not know this, but I do not eat animals, and I do not eat dairy products for the most part. Like, I'm not one of those freaks. If I'm out at a restaurant and I can't get something without butter, I'm not going to freak out about it. But I try. I do eat eggs from my own hens. You may have seen those. So I already don't eat all that, but I cut out all oil. I cut out all processed foods except for soy and almond milk, tofu, and tempeh. And I cut out all sugar, like all sugar, period. And then I cut out all wheat. I only did whole grains. Let me just say, wow, I was unprepared for the shitstorm that was about to be released. And I just want to say this, whenever you give up something that you're addicted to, and there's so many great devil cards out there, whenever you give up something that you're addicted to, and you decide to fast from it, and you put your body in a place of deprivation, you're gonna unlock stuff in your tissues. I'm certified in integrated energy therapy, and we talk about the issues in your tissues. We store trauma in our body on a cellular level, and one of the ways that I found that I was really keeping trauma at bay within myself was through food, was through specifically sugar, but food in a lot of ways and for a lot of reasons. I mean, it was a very complex unraveling. So when I went on this fast, oh my gosh, like, you guys, this is so pathetic. I was like 10 hours into it, and I had a freak out. Like, I can't do this. I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, wow, I mean, like, I'm not really in detox yet. What is going on? And my ego was so loud. Like, don't do this. You can't shield yourself from what's lying underneath. And what was beneath there is that 6 of Cups reversed was a ton of trauma from my childhood, from my past, that has just been there forever. And I'm sure some of you know this, like, you deal with these things, you think about your issues with your parents, you've probably done work on it, you think, oh, I've really done a lot of work. And then you have some some revealing. And that's why I put this down here that I flanked it with the Two of Pentacles and the Two of Swords. Because what was happening there was just at the roots of this was a need to find balance, a need to get back into my body. My body was so out of balance. I had really kept so much of this within me buried under the surface. That Two of Swords, my head and my heart were not in alignment. And when your head and your heart are not in alignment, your physical body is holding so much stress. So for me, this journey, it was like uncorking a genie. And so the first week was really hard. And that's when I graduated my kids. So there was a lot of crying. Whenever we remove something and have a death in our life, we open up a space within ourselves and we actually create a vacuum. And then on top of it, that opening that I was doing with food really just, it was like opening up the abyss and taking a look down inside to see what kind of demons were screaming to get out in my life. And it was a lot. And I knew that June was going to be like this. I knew from what May had been that June was really going to open me up in a way that I was going to need a very powerful deck that could love me through this in a very special way. And for that reason, I chose the Tarot of Transformations. So I did an interview that first week with the deck, and here's some of the coloring that I did with it. I wanted to share this page with you. The deck itself is so powerful. If you're not familiar with the Tarot of Transformation, you're about to get, and here's the book here, you're about to get a little crash course on it as I share. First of all, I just want to say this is the worst cardstock I've ever experienced in my life, and I will probably be looking up how to reback this just so that I can enjoy it more. So what is interesting about the Tarot of Transformation is that basically this deck deals with the tarot in a way as if you had actualized the energy of the card, so the essence of the card, whatever it is, and then you were transformed by it. Like, this is your embodied, empowered self in the card itself. So what's really neat about them is that you have like Six of Swords, right? And the visuals on this, the art is absolutely glorious. It really is. So Six of Swords, what does that lead to? We think of it as the crossing over card in the traditional tarot, but it leads to structure for the journey. So, and I love that it has these key phrases at the top. Again, it was a very different system, but wow, aren't these cards just beautiful? There's a softness to this deck, and there's just an unfolding of self. It's so inviting. I mean, there's so many spirals just calling you in. It really is incredible. And the book itself is great, you guys. It's just great. Here, like, here's death, grieving and letting go. So it'll come through and it talks a little bit about the picture. And so I just want to read you this first paragraph here. This is the card of death and rebirth. Something old is dying, making way for something new to be born. Often what is dying are old patterns, ways of being, and relationships that no longer serve us. As we release what is fading, there is an uplifting quality to the energy and it moves to a higher form. The change is thus evolutionary. So you can kind of get a feel for the cards themselves, and you can see quite a bit that she goes into, and she talks about if you're drawn to the card, what it means. And it's beautifully, beautifully written. If you are looking to do some hard-hitting, transformative work, this deck is amazing, and I think that it is a perfect choice. It's very different. You're not going to be able to read it the same way that you read the tarot because it's just coming at it at a completely different angle, but I can't recommend this enough. I say that every time. I love whatever deck I'm working with, but this one, it held me so beautifully during this time that was incredibly painful. And this deck, other than the horrible cardstock, I feel like this could even be a soul deck for me. As the month progressed, really facing down the devil, facing down the ways in which I've abdicated my power. Sometimes we give away our power as children as a survival mechanism, or we do it as a vow. And I definitely came across some vows that I had made to myself. And whenever we make a vow like, I'll never do this, I'll never love again, that wasn't mine. But whenever we make these hard and fast vows, we create stuck energy in our body because it's the immovable object in our life, but that immovable object is within ourselves. So we carry around this stone and it's this heavy, dense energy. And so I really came across these vows that I had made in my youth in order to survive some of the situations that I had been in order to be able to feel powerful, because I was feeling disempowered. And a lot of times when the devil comes up, we find the areas in our life that we feel disempowered, and we realize it's really just about lifting that chain off of our neck. It's really about realizing that we've given ourselves over to something for whatever the reasons. Because like I said, sometimes we've had terrible trauma where we needed to be small or weak in order to survive, or, we needed to push back hard. And it creates, if we hold on to that, if we stay stuck in those aspects of ourselves that want us to remain enslaved, because it does become an enslaving thought pattern when you have trauma stuck in your body, whatever it is. So for me, it led to this terrible sense of sadness, this sense of these things are not right with my life. This Nine of Cups reverse, this lack of feeling like life was good and plentiful and abundant. At the same time, my farm is just gloriously bursting into bloom. There was so much life, and we finally started getting some sun here, not too hot, it was perfect. And, I could see the flowers in my yard, and my roses came on. I have a multitude of roses. I collect roses because my mother was a rose collector, and so I've become one as well. So many beautiful roses. I collect roses that are 10s on the scent scale. So there was this juxtaposition of abundance and this feeling of lack, this Nine of Cups reversed here. And I think a lot of times that happens when we face the devil in our life, because we have to look at the areas, or at least for me, I had to look at the areas I had disempowered myself and carried this story. Like, it's a story a lot of times that plays in the background that you're not even aware of. And a lot of times what happens is there'll be some goodness in our life that comes in, and it kind of knocks on that door, says like, hey, like this hard stuck energy, it's not congruent. That Two of Swords reversed, it's not congruent. Your head and your heart are not in alignment. That Two of Pentacles reversed, you're not living a balanced life. You're not in abundance. This is abundance, and this thing that's in you is not. My way of dealing with this is to go hiking, is to get out in nature. And so I began to hike the Butte, and it's just an absolutely gorgeous hike up to the Butte here, and taking the trails, doing this regularly, getting out there, hydrating, getting into my body, really, really feeling my body, pushing my body. When I wear my Fitbit for this, it tells me that I have climbed 138 flights of stairs. So it's very uphill, it's very intense. But doing that, like, this was the month of doing hard things, of pressing into my sadness. And there was a lot of sadness that came up for me. Realizing, again, that Two of Cups reversed, that Six of Cups reversed, realizing the things that I'd held on to, these sad childhood memories, these sad memories from my youth, kind of dictating a lot of my life, because what happens is the ego comes in and says, hey, you got to keep doing it this way. Just keep doing it this way. That's that Five of Pentacles. I needed to choose a new way. I needed to choose a new way of being. I needed to know that there was light in the sanctuary, that the light of the world, that the love that is available, that flows through the universe, the trust that is available to me is safe, and that there's a new way of being and loving myself and interacting with myself. One of the books that carried me along this month that I'm still listening to, it is available on Sounds True and on Audible, is by Pinkola Estes, the woman who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves, and it is the book Late Bloomer. This is such a great book. If you feel like you're getting going in life, if you're just getting freed up into yourself in life later in life, like somehow you missed it, and this could be at any time. I would say, probably more in your 40s and 50s, but 60s, 70s, 80s. This is such a great book. This book is beautiful. It's what makes her amazing. She is a poet. She opens her mouth, and the stories that come out just go deep into your soul and release you into yourself in such powerful ways. So Late Bloomer is a fabulous book, and it really helped me to feel empowered about this time in my life, and to realize that even though I have had some of these stories that I don't like about myself, and I've even perpetuated, that life has not passed me by, and there is plenty more on the table for me. And now is the time to really release my fire into the world and allow myself to be seen in a very vulnerable yet powerful way. If you're needing some kind of boost that way, if you're feeling like you've always wanted to fill in the blank and never did it, and you're wondering if it's too late for you, this is your book. Late Bloomer. This is your book. It's great. And I needed something to keep me light and alive, so I read some young adult fiction. I read The Crooked Sixpence. Such a great book. If you loved Harry Potter and you want something that's in that vein but not a copycat, this is great. A little bit dark, but an adventure that really takes you into another world. I can't wait to read the next book in this series. And because I knew that I was going to be healing this month and doing a lot of inner child work, I don't know how I knew I was going to be doing that, but I did. So I used the Playful Heart Tarot, and I did some readings. You can see I went for really colorful and bright. And so, the Playful Heart Tarot, you might think, what an interesting deck to use. But I do find that this is my deck for inner child healing. It really just brings me to a place where I can look at that child self and some of the scary things that are going on in just a very different way. And I really, really needed it. I just needed this. I needed this lightness. I needed to be able to relax and to feel a playfulness with what was going on, to have something that felt safe, to go back to my childhood and feel my way into these energies and just feel very supported by it. And the best pairing with both of these, with the Tarot of Transformations, which I used, and the Playful Heart Tarot, was this right here, the Enchanted Unicorn Oracle. This is such an unlikely pairing for me, honestly, you guys. It's very interesting. This is a Gerald Made Me Do It deck, so we'll put his hashtag in there, purchase responsibly, know your limits. This deck, you can see, looking at these two right here, such an interesting pairing because the art style is different, but there was every single one of these messages was literally dead on, was so good, paired so well with both of these decks. This is a great cheap deck, you guys. And of course, I've got all the decks listed down below. One of the things I love about this deck is that you have the number, the name of it, these really groovy, really groovy illustrations. She has another deck, which I don't have, that you can work with this deck. Really cool. And then you have these keywords down here. So it says, embrace your differences. And this plant in the book will be outlined. It will be, ooh, I opened right up to it. So it has the plant itself and what's linked to it. It has the divination, so like the message of that card. And there's kind of a little, at the very end of each one, this unicorn encourages you to lift yourself up out of the mundane and try something wonderfully silly just for fun. So there's a little like, hey, try this. And then there's unicorn magic here. So it's got like a little magical thing. And these were actually pretty cool, you guys. I thought that they were easy to do, something that was just right around and available in the moment. And I just felt like these really went really, really well together. Which brings me to my core beastie for the month, which is Snake. Snake was my partner for the month, and it's no wonder that Snake showed up. This is my Snake page. I am going to come back and put some of the different things in. I just have not gotten to it yet, but I did some research on it as it was my core beastie for the month. Everywhere I went, there was a snake all the time. I had snakes crossing my path left and right. And the snake is really about rebirth. Oh, my cat. What did you do? It's really about rebirth. It's really about that Kundalini energy, that rising energy within. And I was just becoming so unblocked. And I was doing that with the help of the Fool card. Like that was kind of I needed that, was that childlike energy, that ability to remove judgment from things, to get this distance. And I have to tell you, by the end of week 2, I could really tell my hormones were getting imbalanced. My hot flashes were dissipating. But that Fool card, using that Fool card so that I could get some distance. By the end of week 2, I was feeling like I was starting to feel really good in my body. I was starting to feel very alive. I was starting to feel very present. The colors were brighter. Life was looking... There was a dispassionate buffer, as I like to say, a level of detachment that I had reached. And that comes from that Fool, of being like, I can pull myself away from the emotion. I can pull myself away from the sadness of that 3 of Swords. I can pull myself away from the disappointments of the past. I can pull myself away from the imbalance and from my ego just trying to keep me on this, doing it the same way, staying stuck. I'd finally kind of reached that place sort of mid-month where I had some distance. And at that point, I felt like I could get in an adventurous mood. I could see what was happening to me as an adventure. And it was then that I really started understanding that snake energy and how snake was really rising in me, how I was really coming into a place where I was freeing up, almost like the rust, because chakra means wheel. And so I was thinking about them being kind of rusty, squeaky. Some of them were some of those wheels were squeaky, not really spinning the way that they needed to. And so it was all of this freedom, this pain, these tears, this release was lubricating those wheels, was breaking things free. And this being this death year, I thought, I really just want to gut it up. I really want to get rid of this shit. I don't want to be doing this the second half of my life. I don't want to be carrying this crap. I really want to be honest and vulnerable. I want to be adventurous. I want to have that Fool embodiment. So in the 3rd week of the month, I took a walk up the butte again. And this time I went up there on Solstice in order to see the sunrise. And I got up there just after the sun rose, and it was so beautiful. It was glorious to be a part of that sunrise, to really feel that solstice time, that time of crossing over. And I did this spread right here. And let me tell you, it was not at all what I was expecting. I was really, really excited to see. And it was like, oh, the last 6 months is the world card. So I was like, wow, okay, like again, a turning of the wheel, a coming to the end, a knowing of self, of understanding my place in the world. And then I moved on to what the next 6 months would be. And guess what card I got, you guys? The next 6 months, the Tower. Yeah, the Tower. What is the sun rising on in my life? And I remember getting up there and being like, that's not really the card I want for the next 6 months. Whenever the Tower comes up for me, and tell me what the Tower is like for you, but when the Tower comes up for me, I know that it's about busting things back down to the foundation, seeing the pieces that are actually worth building on, seeing what's solid, breaking down what's flimsy, what's not right, what doesn't belong. And I always think of the Tower of Babel whenever I think about the Tower card. You know, building this idea up more and more and more, elevating an idea in your life and trying to become more powerful than the sum of all things. And that is a getting out of sync with the universe. Yes. That was my solstice reading. There were lots of great cards like, what do I let go of in order to embrace this new thing? And it was the King of Swords, which was perfect, which is all about like control, having a plan, let go of that. Very poignant. All of this time, I'm releasing trauma. I'm coming into my empowered self. I'm taking the chain off my neck. I'm releasing my children into the universe. And at the same time, then right after this, I have my 11th wedding anniversary. Here I am with my husband. My goodness, look at how young I am. I think, wow, I'm so darn young in this picture. And there was just so much that was good. There was so much that was good. Again, like that partnering with Snake, that understanding the shedding of the skin, the understanding of the power of that closeness to the earth, of moving forward by getting my belly down on the ground and being connected to the earth. I'm so deeply passionate about each one of us understanding our connection to the earth and getting in sync with that so that we can be happy here. Yeah, actually happy. Being in sync with being here on planet Earth and the joy of having a body and being able to do all these incredible things while we're here, to be able to experience the world through our physical form. And so that snake energy, the wisdom bringer, the snake is wisdom, and then that life force rising in me in a new and fresh way. And I thought, this is great. Let that divine light rise. Let it break down the tower. Let it crumble down. Let's die. And for that, I was just like, it's an 8 of Cups type of thing where it's just about walking away. So I want to say this, if you've made it this far, bravo. It's really long. This is a really long one. If you made it this far, I want to tell you, it is so liberating for me to think I don't need to do 50 hours of therapy because like I had just kind of remembered this incident from my childhood that had kept me kind of captive, that I'd sort of glossed over as normal because sometimes we have things that happen and we just go, that was normal. That was just a thing. And then it came up and I realized how powerful it had been in my life. But I don't need to do 50 hours of therapy. I don't need to do much of anything. I just need to walk away from it. And sometimes, when we get to a place where we energetically recognize that something is leaving us, We don't need to hold on to it and pick it apart and look at it again and put it under a microscope and, rehash it with everyone or call that person on the phone. We just need to walk away. We need to let it go. It's wanting to leave. That's why it's coming up and it's ready to leave. And that's where I was at. It's 8 of Cups. It's that 8 of Cups. I'm walking away. Bye-bye. I don't need to overhash that. So I hope somebody out there needed to hear that and feels liberated by it, that you can choose to simply walk away from things. You can choose to naturally allow those energies to leave your physical being, leave your life, and simply partner with that leaving. It's a parting. It's a parting from energies that no longer serve. I also worked with these two, which is my next before you buy. Can you see that? This is my next before you buy. And both of these had a profound effect on my month and what it meant to me. I'm almost done with my comparison of these, and that will be up soon. And now I want to tell you about the lives that I'm going to start doing. So I want to start doing some lives because they just look like so much fun. Like I've really enjoyed the couple of lives that I've been on, and I'll leave links to those down below. One with Orshi at Dragorsi's Tarot, and one with Maria. And Carla Astrology, Orshi was there as well. So that was on the 5s. If you haven't seen that, link down below. I will be on Peekaboo Rose on the 17th. I will be on Tarot Stash on the 8th and the 29th as well. No, 23rd as well. But I want to do my own lives. So Sylvain, if you made it all the way to the end, I've messaged you. I do want you to come on. So here's what I'm going to do, you guys. And I need a name for it. So I'm assuming if you made it this far, you're like super faithful. And you may have some good insights here. So here's the way it goes. I'm going to have a guest on. They're going to have their tarot deck, and they're going to draw their own hand of questions. And I have 78 questions at this point. I want to do reversals as well. So they will draw their card. I will read the question. The questions are springboarded off the essential essence of the card. And so there are all sorts of different questions, like if you were on a desert island and blah, blah, blah. There's those kinds of questions. And then there's, just very simple questions. The idea is to get to know the other reader or the other tarot tuber or whoever I have on, to get to know them and to learn some interesting facts about them and to have fun with it. So I'm trying to think of a name for this. And I was like, Trial by Tarot. That sounds intimidating. The big tarot reveal. I don't know. I want to have tarot in there. So if you guys have a name for this, some ideas for names, let me know down below. Also, I've been tossing around several different courses. One on the numerology of the tarot, one on possibly the minor arcana. So if you made it this far and you had a tarot course, if there was a tarot course designed for you, what tarot course would that be? What would you want to learn about? What specific things about tarot do you want to learn about? Let me know down below in the description box. Until we meet again, may your devil card moments be the sign that you are ready for personal liberation, that you are ready to live a more empowered life that comes from the true essence of who you are and not who you thought you were, someone else thought you were, or what the world says you should be.